The Cheesecake Factory has more than 250 items on its menu. That's one of the largest selections of any U.S. chain. While many restaurants across the U.S. are cutting dishes as ingredient prices rise, the Cheesecake Factory is doing the opposite, adding more than 10 new plates a year. Chefs make nearly everything from scratch daily, including 100 different sauces.
There's so many challenges when you're making everything fresh.
The restaurant relies on Jay Hinson, who's worked at the company for 28 years, to train chefs on the new dishes.
The moment we start thinking something's easy is when we make mistakes.
I want to make sure potatoes are perfect. I'm still not getting hot mash. It's still cold.
The Cheesecake Factory's more is more strategy is working. Sales have increased each year since 2020, at a time when other sit-down restaurants are struggling. We went behind the scenes to see what it takes to keep the Cheesecake Factory's kitchens running and how it makes such a massive menu profitable.
This menu is a book. This is like a chapter book.
Chefs start racing to chop, slice, and cook hours before any customers show up.
You get your list, put your head down, you get your work done. You're being meticulous about weighing and measuring and cutting everything precisely to hit the correct flavor profile.
They'll do all this prep from 5 stations, slicing dozens of items a day, including every piece of cheese, vegetable, and meat.
Little thicker, that's too thin. Slice this too thin, starts to eat dry as it hits the air temperature. If you slice it too thick, it eats chewy.
At this station, Juan Carlo Diaz is in charge of making 100+ dips, dressings, and sauces, like marinara. He roasts the tomatoes in the oven, blends them together with fresh basil and garlic, and mixes all of the ingredients in this vat. Once the sauce is complete, Juan sets aside a small amount to be taste tested.
That's perfect. One of the best I tried. Nice shot, chef.
Joel Lopez oversees quality control. He'll try the foods prepped today to make sure they're up to the chain's standard.
You ever get tired of trying everything?
You know, we do it for so long, it becomes a habit. And when something doesn't look right away, you can identify it. Nice and crispy. Great amount. ¿Sí? Perfecto. Cremosa, está un poquito seca. Se le puso un poquito más de crema.
Once Joel approves the prepped ingredients, staff store them in here. They'll cook it all within the next 7 days.
The walk-in box is set up exactly like our stations out in the prep kitchen. Sauce station has a segment, slicer, salad, and production. The secret to prepping food fast is having organization, right? When we watch a cook run from their station to a walk-in box, back to their station, that's all dead time.
To speed things up and limit cooking mistakes, chefs have screens at their stations that walk them through each dish step by step. At 9 a.m., the line cooks arrive and things start heating up. Ingredients and prepped items like macaroni cheese balls and dumplings are sectioned off and labeled inside drawers below each station. Once an entree is ordered, chefs have just 15 minutes to get it out, and 7 minutes for appetizers.
How many items can we really execute off of a station? That becomes a juggling act for us.
When the restaurant opens at 11:30, it's go time. The chain's algorithm decides when to send an order to a station. Since a steak takes longer to cook, it'll appear on the screen earlier than a dish like orange chicken. That way, everything from one order hits the window at the same time. But even with strict organization and a timed-out algorithm, some things slip through the cracks. Tickets turn orange when chefs are running out of time, like with these nachos. Cooks make the chips from scratch and have to add the right balance of sauces and toppings. Too much could make it soggy. Too little might throw off the balance of sweet, spicy, and acidic flavors. This dish is new to the menu, so the chefs are running a little slower than usual. If the plate is past due, the ticket turns red. This might happen at one of the harder stations, pasta, because chefs monitor up to 10 pans at once. Or at the grill station, where meats require a chef's full attention.
Once the buns go down and you drop the meat onto the grill, absolutely every movement at that point counts. If you turn around, you oversear the bottom of the meat, the burger buns will not steam the right way.
If staff can't hit their deadlines, a kitchen manager might join the line to help. But if everything's running smoothly, managers like Joel will watch from this area, called the pass. From here, Joel has to give his final stamp of approval before anything leaves the kitchen.
See how it's a little bit of sauce on the side? Make sure it's nice and clean, nice golden brown. I want to see those layers. Haystack as high as possible. You want to see the best bite forward, right? But make sure the asparagus are all facing the same direction, okay?
He measures the temperatures,
I'm still not getting hot mash. Still cold.
portion sizes,
9-ounce raw, 5.5 cook, right? The chicken looks a little small.
and taste tests everything.
Alex, can I taste your pasta water? Let me see how it is. Yeah, it needs more salt, Alex.
All 250 menu items come from this one kitchen. But the Cheesecake Factory's menu wasn't always this long. It started out as a family-owned bakery, and it made only one thing: cheesecake. During the 1940s, Evelyn Overton made and sold cheesecakes in Detroit, but her business never really took off. So she moved the wholesale bakery to a bigger market, Los Angeles. David Overton, Evelyn's son, helped out with the business. They offered a dozen varieties of cheesecake to restaurateurs, but the new flavors failed to catch on in restaurants.
They didn't see the reason to have more than one flavor of cheesecake.
So in 1978, David took a risk. He opened the first Cheesecake Factory and shifted the brand's focus to full-service dining.
He really thought, I'll show those restaurateurs.
But he had no previous experience running a restaurant. On opening day, he was so nervous, he didn't unlock the doors until 2 p.m. to avoid the lunch rush. When he finally opened the doors, they were full within 10 minutes. The original menu had 60 items, mostly things he knew how to cook himself, like hamburgers and quiche. He skipped fries because he didn't know how to use a fryer.
It was that lack of experience that led him to create a menu made from scratch. And he kind of jokes, if a cook ever walked out and he had to jump on the line, he could cook things.
There was a salad bar, an espresso station, and a massive dessert menu. It quickly caught on with the American middle class, which peaked at roughly half the U.S. population in the decade the Cheesecake Factory opened.
There really were, in the area, high-end restaurants and then kind of fast food, but there was really nothing in the middle. And David purposely created a restaurant that was very much in the middle.
And as more restaurants across the country began using frozen food and microwaves, the Cheesecake Factory's made-from-scratch cooking struck a chord. Over the next 50 years, David would go on to open 252 more locations around the world, and he never stopped adding to the menu. Now the Cheesecake Factory has one of the largest menus of any major U.S. food chain.
Our kitchen operations teams has really put their foot down and told David, 250 items, it's not going to be ever getting much larger than that, just from a sheer complexity standpoint.
But that hasn't stopped the Cheesecake Factory from adding recipes. The chain rolls out new items twice a year. They replace older ones that are underperforming, so the menu doesn't get any bigger. Well, all the cheesecakes are made at factories in Los Angeles and North Carolina and sent to the restaurants frozen. All the other dishes are largely made on site. It's Jay's job to figure out if new dishes can actually work on this team's already chaotic restaurant stoves.
To get 18 new items on the menu, we probably tasted over 100 items.
What do you think makes a good menu item?
It's when you try to eat the entire dish, and that experience, every bite is a little different. It takes you on a roller coaster ride.
On average, it takes up to 16 weeks to develop new dishes. And once they're ready for rollout, select staff from across the country head to the California headquarters. They'll spend 1 week learning how to make the new plates. Then they'll head back and train their kitchen staff on how to do it. It'll take up to 5 days to get everyone up to speed. But can they actually pull off all of these different types of cuisines? I put them to the test and tried the food out for myself.
This menu is a book. 22 pages. On one hand, you had fried macaroni, cheese balls, very American. And right above it, you have some egg rolls, Thai chili shrimp, all over the map.
First, I tried 2 of their most popular dishes, the pickle fries and avocado rolls.
There's a lot of pickle inside. I feel like most pickle fries, it's mostly breading. It tastes good. It's great. It's literally guacamole just like in a fried crust. I can see why they're a favorite.
Next, I sampled out some of the most popular and the newest entrees.
Okay, so now when you see that $30 price tag, you start understanding that this actually goes a lot further than you would have thought. I mean, this is like 7 weeks worth of food right here.
The tuna poke bowl, new to the menu this year, was one of my favorite things on the table.
That's so good. I could easily down that all by myself. This is raw fish at the Cheesecake Factory. So of course, if you went to a restaurant that specialized in poke bowls, you might get something like a little better, but then you wouldn't be able to get this jambalaya pasta. So I think that's where Cheesecake Factory sets itself apart, is that you can get really good level food in all of these very wacky categories, and it's good. I'll be the first to admit I'm kind of surprised by that.
But nowadays, menus this large are uncommon in the rest of the industry. Starbucks has cut down its menu by 30%, Chili's by 25%, and Outback nearly 20%. It's a trend that started during the pandemic.
This is an industry where margins are tight. 1 to 2% savings is massive. So if you're cutting 3 ingredients and it saves you 2% on labor, operations, and ingredients, it could be millions of dollars of savings.
Now, as the prices of ingredients like beef and lettuce keep climbing, many restaurants are charging more. From 2020 to 2025, menu prices at U.S. restaurant chains increased by an average of 42%. IHOP's menu prices went up by 82%, Texas Roadhouse's by 46%, and the Cheesecake Factory's by 40%. Now, nearly 40% of Americans are dining out less. So when diners do choose to go out, they're picking places with bigger portions.
If you're going to spend $15, $20 on a meal from McDonald's, but it's going to last you 1 meal, or if you spend $23 to $25 on a meal from Cheesecake Factory, but you've got bread, you've got a portion that's going to feed you for dinner and lunch the next day, the value is there.
The portions are huge. In Manhattan, a slice of cake would probably be the size of this little mound of whipped cream. But here, I mean, that's like easily shareable with 3 people for $13.
The Cheesecake Factory's design also stands out.
Most chains have gone through redesigns like Starbucks, Red Lobster, Subway, but this pretty much looks the same as it was when I was in middle school. And I think that leans heavily into this nostalgia that we're all sort of craving in our lives right now.
It feels like an experience, and that experience helps customers stay longer and order more.
And you have to think most people are probably ordering some kind of dessert when at the Cheesecake Factory.
For restaurants, drinks and desserts are often the most profitable items on the menu. At the Cheesecake Factory alone, cake slices make up an estimated 17% of the chain's sales in 2025.
It's kind of brilliant for a restaurant chain to completely brand itself around one of the highest margin things on the menu. And these desserts range from $11 to $13, so you're looking about half the price of a main dish, and this is very low effort for the kitchen.
The chain also saves money by using the same ingredients across multiple menu items, like these wonton wrappers. They show up in the Asian salad, egg rolls, and Asian nachos. Now, the Cheesecake Factory is one of the highest grossing restaurant chains in the US. One location can bring in over $12 million in gross revenue annually. Compare that to Texas Roadhouse, which earns just shy of $8 million a year per location, or Chili's, which brings in an estimated $5 million. In the first quarter of 2026, the Cheesecake Factory beat Wall Street expectations, with average weekly sales reaching an all-time high.
If you have a large family and one kid wants pizza, someone else wants a burger, dad wants a steak, mom wants a pasta, you can throw Cheesecake Factory's name out there and you can have the entire family meet their goals.